So that's interesting. This election has been one of the most contentious, controversial and frankly ridiculous presidential elections, certainly in my lifetime and possibly in the history of the United States. But one thing that it has done is it's reminded me to talk about something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, which is the way in which I think we should handle arguing with people who have opinions which contrast our own. Okay, now of course on my YouTube channel, Cosmic Skeptic, this is what I do all the time. In fact, I seek people out who have opinions which differ to mine so that I can make response videos, and hopefully I can challenge their opinions and change their mind. And one of the things that people say to me more than anything else in the comments or on Facebook or whatever is they say to me, Alex, how and why are you so respectful when responding to people who are quite blatantly disrespectful or arrogant or condescending? Why don't you just get really angry and lose your shit and make them look like an idiot or something? And to me it comes down to one very simple thing, which is I don't condemn people for their beliefs. Now I'm assuming that the majority of the people who might watch this video would like to say the same thing about themselves. You know, everyone likes to say, I don't judge people, I respect people's rights to hold different beliefs to my own, and I like to hear both sides of every argument and come to my own conclusions, but respect everybody else's right to come to their own. And yeah, in most cases this is actually pretty easy. If you're an atheist, if somebody comes up to you and says, I'm religious, you say, well, yeah, I don't condemn that, that's fine. If you're a Republican and someone says to you, I voted for Hillary Clinton, then okay, fine, yeah, I respect your right to do that, and I don't condemn you for it. If somebody comes up to you and says, I think homosexuality is a mental disorder, well, actually, that's where things tend to change. Given the nature of the videos that I make, I come across this kind of stuff all the time. I come across people who say that all atheists are sinners and they're going to hell, or that homosexuality is an abomination, or that we live on a flat earth, or whatever it may be. And I think most people's instinctive response, and mine as well, is to say, what? Like, really? And you want to say, you're so stupid, get out of my face before I hit you. But this is where I can't stress enough how important it is to consider why you are arguing with this person before you decide how you should approach your response. So look, don't get me wrong, if somebody just comes up to you in the street and says this kind of thing, or if somebody at a party says it, or whatever, you have every right and probably should just tell them to F off. But like I said, I actually seek out these people. And again, don't get me wrong, if you're trying to make some kind of response video or write an article for the sake of entertainment to make these people look stupid, then yeah, by all means, just call them stupid, make them look ridiculous. But bear in mind that you're probably not going to be helping the situation. Okay? The reason that I make response videos personally is I like to challenge people's opinions, especially ones which contradict my own. And I like to offer thought-out responses to people who maybe haven't considered the other side. I love to be able to come away from a video that I've made thinking that even if there's a slight possibility that I might have changed that person's mind, or the mind of somebody who's watching, or at least challenged their opinions in some way. So when I'm met with these absurd propositions and opinions, like I said earlier, my natural instinct is still to just think, how stupid is that? Or just call them out for their ignorance or whatever. But I don't say that because I don't think it's actually going to help anyone. And like I said, considering the reason that I'm making the video, which is after all to hopefully change that person's mind, by calling them stupid or by giving them some kind of ad hominem attack, it's not going to help anybody. Okay, think of it this way. Let's go back to before the election happened. Let's say that you're a Republican who's voting for Donald Trump, and a Democrat comes up to you and says, I don't like Donald Trump, I think he's racist and misogynistic. Okay, now let's say that you want to change that person's mind. Just bearing in mind, none of these opinions are actually mine, this is just an example. There are two main ways to approach arguing with this person. Okay, the first is to say, you are so stupid, you obviously know nothing about politics, please go home and do some research and then come back to me. Or you can say, okay, why do you think that? And they might say, well, he said X on this particular date. And you might say, well, yeah, I heard him say X at this particular date, but I thought that by saying X, he was referring to Y or whatever, and you start a conversation and you consider their viewpoint and you offer a rational explanation as to why you disagree with it. And which you think is going to be more successful. And this is the important thing. This doesn't just apply to the completely absurd opinions that you might hear from religious fundamentalists or flat earthers or whatever. It also applies to just people who you disagree with on a daily basis, be it political or religious or otherwise. If you actually consider their views, okay, even if you vehemently disagree with them, consider their views, and more importantly, possibly more importantly, consider why they believe them. If I meet somebody who's homophobic, say, it's very difficult for me not to just instinctively be angry at that person. But again, this goes back to thinking about what I'm actually trying to do, what the goal is when I'm responding to these people. And like I said, I'm trying to change this person's mind. And you can't possibly even think about, okay, you can't even consider how you're going to change this person's mind without considering how they got into that mind state in the first place. So if somebody's homophobic, chances are that they're only of that opinion because of either their religious inclination or their upbringing. And when you look at it from that perspective, you can't really blame people. If they've been told from birth by authoritative figures that they trust that something is true or that something is wrong, you can't really blame them for believing it. And so that's why no matter how much I disagree with someone, I'm not going to condemn them for their beliefs because, frankly, I don't know where they came from. A less extreme example would be the fact that I used to be a Catholic. I used to be an altar boy, for God's sake, and I truly wish that I had a photo to show you to prove it, but unfortunately I don't. But yeah, I used to be a Catholic, and if you are subscribed to my channel Cosmic Skeptic, then you'll know that that's now something that I quite vocally and quite openly disagree with. So how did that happen? Well, the thing is, I used to be quite a credulous child, and I believed in many things that I now consider to be absurd. And let me tell you, if somebody hadn't have spoken to me like a human being, despite my credulity, I would probably still be religious today. If somebody had just come up to me and said, how can you believe in God? How can you believe in creationism? How can you believe in the Bible? And called me stupid for it, I probably would have just got defensive, and it would have had the exact opposite effect of what they wanted, because I would have tried to affirm my beliefs even more. But because somebody spoke to me, and because quite a few people actually, I was lucky, would speak to me in a manner which challenged what I believed, but did so unobtrusively and through a healthy conversation, which respectfully challenged my pre-existing beliefs. And in doing so, they gave me food for thought rather than food for anger. And so this is why I try so hard to respond to every single person with precisely the same invaried level of respect, regardless of how much I agree or disagree with what they have to say. Because if somebody hadn't have done that for me, then I would have grown up incredibly closed-minded. I wouldn't have developed any kind of critical thinking skills, and I certainly wouldn't hold beliefs today that I hold. And so I'm incredibly grateful to people who, during my upbringing and still today, challenged or challenge my beliefs, but do so in a manner which is open to conversational arguments rather than heated arguments. And never forget to turn the criticism in on yourself every once in a while, okay? Because, well, consider the fact that the reason for which somebody believes one thing may be precisely the same reason that you believe something else, even if the beliefs themselves are completely contradictory. Okay, let me explain. Let's say you're an atheist, you've been brought up an atheist, and you think that Christianity is stupid. And you say to Christians, look, you were just brought up since birth believing that God is real, so of course you're going to be a Christian. But that's the reason you're a Christian, and so that's why it's ridiculous. But hang on, apply that to yourself. You've also been brought up as an atheist, so could the same thing not be said of you? Okay, so if an argument could be used against yourself as well as against the person that you're trying to argue against, it's probably best to refrain from using it. And this is a brilliant way to weed out what are good arguments and what are bad arguments, and hopefully help you win the debate. Condemning somebody for their beliefs is a failure to recognize that beliefs and opinions, especially with regards to religion or politics, are incredibly complex and aren't always, and in fact almost never are, attributable to a single factor. So the next time that you're arguing with somebody who you disagree with about something, consider why they believe what they believe. Consider why you believe what you believe, and arguably more importantly, consider what's the actual goal with discussing the topic with this person. Okay, like I said earlier, personally I believe that, generally speaking, the goal should be to open up this person to the possibility of changing their mind. Okay, and that's why, even if you fake it, frankly, you have to be respectful and you have to stay calm if you actually want to make a difference. Okay, if you're a Democrat arguing with a gloating Republican, if you're a Christian arguing with an arrogant atheist, if you're arguing with a friend about which topping works best on a pizza, okay, the way to solve the argument isn't to knock the pizza out of their hand and call them something obscene. You just offer them a slice of yours. No, seriously, that's the point. You to offer your opinion, offer your beliefs, but do so in a respectful manner that they can take or leave if they want to, because frankly, that's the only way. And I mean, I've argued with a lot of people. Trust me, I'm quite the contrarian. I've found that the only way that you can even hope to possibly change someone's mind is to be respectful, is to be calm, collected and rational, and not just throw ad hominems all the time. Especially right now. We are in the midst of ridiculous levels of arguments and conversations, and so it's incredibly important now more than ever to remember to not condemn people for their beliefs. Because to be honest with you, take a step back, look at it and think to yourself, what good does that actually do to anybody? So if you like this kind of video, do let me know and I'll make more. I also play music, so if you're interested in that, all my music kind of stuff goes on this channel as well. So yeah, I've been Alex J. O'Connor. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay civil. Okay, the result is the result. Let's not be cynical. I'll see you in the next one.